this area here, where you have obvious volcanics here in the road, and it transitions here. You can see the gray silicous rock there. You can see quartz there, and most of this rock is from a little bit farther here in this zone, which comes up this way. And this is a 75-meter wide zone. You can see the obvious change in your rocks here. Some of this is bedrock, some of this is just dug out from the road. So the zone continues from about there down here to where we started. 75-meter wide zone. Everything's running through here, and you can see a little bit closer down here to bedrock, the oxidation on the soils and on the rocks. And now that we've gotten a good rainfall, we can kind of see what your bedrock is like. Gray silicous rock there. And this area hosts a nice mineral vein over there at depth, as well as a zone of mineral containing sphalerite, chalcopyrite, pyrite, galena. You can see all this is basically mineralized, and this is just your normal bedrock. So you also have a 5-meter wide zone extending from here over to here. The quartz vein over there, which is drilled in the 70s, 1.32 meters. And then over here you have another gougy mineral zone, which was discovered, and it's not exposed, but we know it's in there. So this is just your typical bedrock. And this stuff is going to run you about 2% zinc and 1% lead. You got maybe 1% copper. And that's just your bedrock. So what we want to do is, now that we've gotten a good rainfall, we dug this out last year, and we want to show you guys some of the samples that we're pulling out from some of the stringer veins, as well as from some of the actual veins in the bedrock up here. So there's an old road right here where they had their drill. They drilled down, intersected quartz, and by our measurements it's right about here in this area. And right here we actually found a quartz vein, which is kind of pinched out at surface. It's about 30 centimeters up there at the top, and then starts to widen as you go down. And here's some of the samples that we pulled out of that vein. You can see there's some sphalerite, pyrite, chalcopyrite, a little bit of galena, but the vein here that they intercepted was a good grade of gold, silver, copper, lead, zinc. And we think that this is the vein. Moving along here, right where this telephone pole is, there's the best samples that we've actually pulled out have come from in here. Lots of grav samples. We've pulled out some bedrock samples from over here. And the sample I pulled out of here was about 10 grams of gold per ton, 300 grams per ton silver, and 25% zinc, 10% lead. And I have a couple samples that we just pulled out of there, and you can see the mineralization here. Galena, sphalerite, chalcopyrite. So this is basically a solid hunk of mineral. And similar sample that we assayed puts this at some high grade ore. A couple more pieces here. Moving along slightly past here, we just pulled these out of the bedrock right there. And you can see there's disseminated mineral in there. And these samples will actually run you a good 2 to 5% zinc, 1 to 1.5% lead, about 100 grams per ton silver, and a couple grams per ton gold. And a sample over 5 meters from this area here all the way over to there showed decent results for lead, zinc, silver, bit of gold, bit of copper, bit of cadmium. And exposed again in the 70s in this overgrown area, there was another 3 meter wide gougy zone with decent mineralization. So what we think is this is actually just surface mineralization, and it's actually a lot better at depth. This zone actually continues up because it's exposed on a road, and we found a new showing that's never been discovered a couple years ago, and that has some really nice ore, and it's basically the exact same type of mineralization, host rock and deposit, and it's over a 20 meter wide area. You have gossinous material similar to this on either sides and exposed in the road. So we think this is one giant zone. So here's some samples that we dug out of the road. You can see a couple little bands of zinc there, little pocket there, and that's kind of typical of what you see in this 75 meter wide zone. You can find these all over the road. You can dig down here to bedrock and you see those. So a nice zone indeed. And down here there's an area over there where there's an actual adit, and we did a video on that a few weeks ago, and this is also in the same zone down there. So we know this extends behind us and ahead of us. Another hunk of random bedrock that we just pulled up below the road, and you can see the mineralization in there again. You got about 5% zinc in the sample, 2% lead, 0.5% of copper, and most likely you'll have some silver and gold values in this as well. So what I thought we'd do is, now that we've seen this little area here, I figured we'd go up. It's about 750 meters up a side logging road and up along strike of this, and we'll go take a look at that other showing quickly, show you a couple samples. And then 500 meters ahead of that, there's another zone, which is basically just gossinous rock with pyrite, but you have some zinc, you have some lead, you have a little bit of copper values in that. Nothing crazy. They're all under 1%, but it's definitely in the same zone, and I bet you at depth you're going to find something there as well. So we'll take a look at those two areas and some samples from there. Okay, we're up at the middle area now, and this is exactly where that showing is that we just showed you down on the main road, and it runs up here in this direction. So you can see in this area here some of the bedrock, the oxidation on the bedrock, and this is actually a mix of volcanics. This is a green volcanic rock, and when this is cleared off and it's plowed a bit better, we got more rains, there's actually quite a bit more of this oxidized material here, and there's definite disseminated pyrite in it. But the showing that we found is actually starting from down here and continues all the way down here, and it's the base of this. So we'll go in here and just take a look. You can see again your gray silicous rock, and it's sort of a mix of volcanics. Down here we had this exposed, but obviously it's been filled in a little bit. This right here contains mineral, And as you go deeper down here, it gets better and better. The other thing is you have some barite in this stuff. Barite is often associated with VMS deposits. You can see the sphalerite in there. So there's some definite nice samples all along in here. And it's not that exposed right now just because we covered it a little bit, but I'll show you some of the samples that we pulled out from this area here. There's some really nice mineralization. So here's the first sample. As you can see, there's some nice galena and sphalerite in there. You can see this right here, this green stuff is your green volcanics mixed in with the showing, so we believe there's an actual contact right down at the bottom there. So another really nice showing, and this is the middle area where we have mineralization exposed. So now what we'll do is we'll go take a look at the upper area and where we think this zone and deposit actually extends to based on geophysics and what we've discovered. Here's a few more before we head out. You can see mineralization. So I bet if we were to punch into here, go down about a meter, we'd come into some really nice mineralization. Because already at surface, these are nice. Okay, so we're on the upper road now, and this is one of the areas I wanted to show. We have about 12 different areas up here that are all exactly the same. Anywhere between 10 and 30 meters, you have mineralization and gossinous zones. So you can see this right here. We know that this is associated, or at least partially associated, with those lower deposits because this mineral here has same background elemental makeup of those lower ones. The grades are obviously way lower. We got about 0.4% of zinc in here, a little bit of lead, a little bit of copper, and there's a bunch of these different areas. Here's one of them. Again, you got more mineralization here. More mineralization there. See sphalerite in there and iron pyrite. This sample here would probably go at 1 to 2% zinc. So this area here, and then we'll drive to another area and we'll show you that area and the kind of mineralization that's there. So this one right here is on strike with those other two. And basically this entire road for about 1 kilometer is all this stuff in various patches. So again, it's all on strike with the same zone. So this is the second area up in this gossamer stretch along the road. You can see the oxidation. You got a mix of iron sulfides in there, mostly iron pyrite. And this continues for about 75 meters where you got sporadic mineralization. As you can see, iron pyrite. So loads of mineral up here. Again, mostly iron pyrite, but the sample that was assayed here also showed the same background values. This also continues around to the corner. And if you go another couple hundred meters, there's a few other zones like this, but they're a little smaller. So those are the 3 areas on the lower, middle, and upper road. We haven't done much prospecting in between these zones because of the steepness of the property. But that's what we're planning in the coming weeks. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.